Novak Djokovic appeared visibly weary and somewhat exasperated after once again falling to Jannik Sinner at the prestigious Six Kings Slam. The Serbian legend, known for his composure and mental toughness, faced yet another defeat, this time by commanding 6-4, 6-2 in the semi-finals of the Saudi Exhibition Tournament. It marked Djokovic's 7th consecutive loss to the Italian, 2 of them coming at this very event. The man many regard as the greatest tennis player in history seems to have met his match, a rival who mirrors his own discipline, precision, and athletic consistency, yet currently holds a psychological and tactical upper hand. At 38 years old, Novak was once again stopped in the same round and by the same opponent as the previous year. But this time, the gulf between the two was striking. Djokovic managed to win only 6 games in total, producing just 10 winners compared to Sinner's impressive 27. From the very first exchanges, it was clear who controlled the tempo. The Italian dictated rallies, punished every short ball, and left the Serbians scrambling for answers. After just over an hour on court, 1 hour and 3 minutes to be precise, the match was over. Djokovic walked to the net, smiled, and exchanged a few ironic words with his opponent. Then, taking the microphone in front of the crowd, he decided to inject humor into the moment. "I'm sorry you didn't get to watch a longer match," Novak said with a half-smile. "I tried to scare Jannik a bit in the last game, but he was firing winners from every corner. He's simply too good. Maybe it was my fault, or maybe his," he laughed. "Either way, it never feels great to get your ass kicked out there." Despite his relaxed tone, there was no disguising the underlying frustration. The 24-time Grand Slam champion is beginning to confront not only a younger generation, but also the whispers surrounding his potential retirement. Still, Djokovic made it clear he isn't done yet. "I have the body I have," he added. "I'm grateful to God for everything this career has given me. If I could swap bodies with a younger version of myself, I probably would," he joked. "But I still have my forehand. I know it's getting harder and harder to beat Jannik, but I'll keep fighting with everything I've got." While Djokovic faces the realities of age and a rising rival, Sinner stands on the opposite side of the spectrum, a 24-year-old at the peak of his powers, confident yet grounded. During his press conference after the match at the Six Kings Slam 2025, Sinner spoke calmly about his goals, mindset, and the daily challenges of maintaining excellence in modern tennis. His discipline continues to fascinate both fans and analysts. Sinner has already endured adversity that might have broken less resilient players, and his composure at such a young age reflects a maturity far beyond his years. "I'm still trying to understand why I've been cramping a bit more often lately," he admitted. "Sometimes there isn't a clear reason. The mind and the body are deeply connected." He also addressed his recent disappointment in Shanghai and explained how the Saudi event provides a refreshing environment. "I like being here because it's a different kind of tournament," he said. "It helps tennis reach new audiences. I think all of us are motivated to be part of this transformation. Saudi Arabia is going to play a big role in the future of our sport." When asked about the emotional toll of life on tour, Sinner spoke candidly about the sacrifices hidden behind the glamour. "I consider myself very fortunate to do what I do," he reflected. "But of course, there are emotional highs and lows. We spend long stretches away from home and family, we're constantly traveling, and privacy becomes a luxury. Even so, I've turned my greatest passion into a profession. That's a dream not everyone gets to live." Finally, he spoke about his mental approach and ambitions for the remainder of the season. "I always try to remember that tennis should be played with joy," he said. "Even though it's my job, it has to stay fun. My goal is to continue competing at the highest level for the rest of the year and beyond." For Djokovic, the challenge now is clear: rediscover the fire that once made him untouchable. For Sinner, the mission is to keep his momentum, stay humble, and continue carving his name into tennis history, one victory at a time. As the tennis season draws toward its final stretch, Jannik Sinner is well aware that every upcoming tournament will shape not only his legacy, but also the psychological balance at the very top of men's tennis. "The next few tournaments are extremely important to me," he said with quiet determination. "I have to keep my fighter's mindset, never let my guard down, and push myself to improve every single day. That's the mentality that brought me to #1 in the world." Calm yet focused, Sinner spoke not as a man satisfied with his rise, but as one looking far beyond it. "My ultimate dream is to win every Grand Slam," he continued. "I don't play tennis just to break records or chase statistics. I play because I want to reach my absolute limit to perform at the highest level possible. That unshakable drive will now be put to the test in the final of the Six Kings Slam 2025, where he faces his great rival Carlos Alcaraz in what promises to be one of the defining duels of the season. While Sinner and Alcaraz dominate the headlines, Alexander Zverev finds himself wrestling with a very different reality. The German, once considered one of the heirs to the Big Three, has endured a turbulent year marked by injuries, inconsistency, and the frustration of watching others surge ahead. Zverev has attributed his decline to a mix of physical setbacks and the erosion of confidence that inevitably follows. "It's been a tough season," he admitted candidly. "I've been dealing with lingering physical problems that keep me from playing at my best, and that slowly eats away at your self-belief." But he also recognizes the broader truth that the sports landscape has changed dramatically. The dominance of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz has played a huge role as well, he acknowledged. They've both raised the bar to an incredible level. Despite his struggles, Zverev refuses to sound bitter or defeated. "I love being a tennis player," he said with sincerity. "Even though we spend nearly 11 months a year traveling from city to city, I know how lucky I am. I don't feel comfortable complaining about it. But this season has definitely been one of the hardest of my career." At the start of 2025, Zverev was ranked world number 2 and within striking distance of the top spot, a goal that seemed entirely within reach. "That's my level when I'm healthy," he reflected. "But since then, I haven't been able to reach it again. Once I'm finally pain-free, I'll have to rebuild both my tennis and my confidence. The main thing for me now is to recover properly and prepare for 2026 in the best possible condition." The source of his trouble lies mainly in his right shoulder, which flared up again during the Six Kings Slam 2025. "I'd been feeling better for a few days," he explained, "but during the warm-up before my match, the pain returned. It's just really bad luck. Tennis is a brutal sport, physically and mentally. It's hard to accept these moments." Zverev said he plans to sit down with his medical and coaching team to determine the best course for recovery. "We need to find the smartest approach to deal with this. I don't want to rush things, but I also don't want to lose more ground." When asked about the current hierarchy in men's tennis, the German was brutally honest. "Right now, Jannik and Carlos are light years ahead of everyone else," he said. "I'm still number 3 in the rankings, but it doesn't feel that way when I face them. Their level is just superior. We can't simply watch them dominate. We need to respond by improving our own games." Zverev still sees hope in a small group of players who could challenge the two young superstars. "If anyone can trouble them, it's probably Djokovic, Fritz, Draper, and myself," he noted. "But before I can even think about competing with them, I have to be 100% healthy again." For now, Zverev's short-term goals remain modest. He plans to compete in Paris and at the ADP finals, though his expectations are understandably tempered. His brief and disappointing participation at the Six Kings Slam only reinforced the impression that he's trapped in a difficult crisis of form and identity. Nevertheless, he's already looking ahead. The German hopes that 2026 will be a year of redemption, a clean slate where he can play freely, without pain, and return to the level that once made him a constant Grand Slam contender. In an interview with Yuba Tennis, Zverev reiterated his respect for the sport's new hierarchy. "Sinner and Alcaraz are setting the standard right now," he said. "They're not just playing better tennis, they're evolving faster than anyone else. It forces the rest of us to adapt or fall behind." Meanwhile, the Six Kings Slam 2025 itself has sparked a wave of discussion far beyond the matches. Even before the first serve, whispers of organizational controversy and spectator dissatisfaction were circulating online. As the tournament unfolded, those murmurs became louder. Fans on social media began voicing complaints about the event's structure, ticket prices, and scheduling. Organizers are reportedly considering significant changes for the 2026 edition in response to the backlash. Despite the turbulence, the atmosphere in Riyadh remains electric. Between the sport's fiercest rivalry, Alcaraz versus Sinner, and the uncertainty surrounding the next generation of challengers like Zverev, the Six Kings Slam continues to embody both the brilliance and the brutal realities of modern tennis. The Six Kings Slam continues to stand apart from every other event on the global tennis calendar, not because of its tradition or ranking points, but because of its staggering financial power. With $1.5 million awarded simply for showing up and nearly $6 million for the champion, it has become the most lucrative tournament in the world. In a sport where prize money is already astronomical, this event operates in another dimension entirely. For that reason, players answer the invitation no matter their physical condition. A sore muscle, a nagging injury, or a long flight are not enough to keep them away from Riyadh's glowing desert stage. That much became evident when Stefanos Tsitsipas and Daniil Medvedev took to the court, both visibly below peak form, yet unwilling to pass up the opportunity. Tsitsipas, in his match against Jannik Sinner, could barely stay competitive for an hour. The Italian, full of confidence and precision, exposed the wide gulf that currently separates him from much of the tour. The contest was short-lived, a 6-2, 6-3 masterclass, and while the crowd had hoped for a fiery spectacle, what they got instead was a quiet reminder of Sinner's ruthless consistency. The victory booked him a place in the semifinals against Novak Djokovic, another legend expected to arrive less than fully fit after struggling in Shanghai just days earlier. The second match of the day, featuring Taylor Fritz and Daniil Medvedev, carried the same undertones of financial motivation. Despite public complaints about the ADP calendar being too demanding, few players seem willing to reject the Saudi millions on offer. Medvedev lasted even less time than Tsitsipas, just 59 minutes, as Fritz stormed through with a 6-3, 6-4 victory. The American's form was sharp, his serve electric, and his focus unwavering as he set up a blockbuster semi-final clash with Carlos Alcaraz. Even in practice sessions, Alcaraz drew attention. Photographers quickly noticed a tight white bandage on his right arm during warm-ups on the Arabian courts, sparking speculation about his physical state ahead of another potential duel with Sinner. Meanwhile, Jannik Sinner himself returned to competition after a physically draining month that had ended in disappointment at the Shanghai Masters. Honest as always, the Italian didn't hide behind excuses when asked about his withdrawal from that tournament due to severe cramps. "It was my mistake," Sinner admitted. "The heat and humidity got to me, and I fell apart. You learn from these things. Cramps can happen, and I was one of many who suffered them that week." His remarks reflected a mix of accountability and quiet resilience. The world number 2 arrives in Saudi Arabia defending his title, aware that overtaking Alcaraz for the year-end number 1 is now mathematically unlikely. But Sinner remains focused on the positives. Despite enduring one of the most emotionally and physically uneven seasons of his career, the Italian has already lifted 2 Grand Slam titles in 2025, the Australian Open in January and Wimbledon in July, plus the ADP 500 title in Beijing. Yet, the year has also tested him like never before. A 3-month suspension after Melbourne interrupted his rhythm, followed by a string of high-profile defeats to Alcaraz in Rome, Roland Garros, the US Open, and the Cincinnati Masters final, which he couldn't complete due to physical exhaustion. Then came the Shanghai debacle, where cramps forced him to retire mid-match against the Dutchman Talon Griekspoor under suffocating Asian humidity. Those setbacks, Sinner confessed, weighed on him psychologically. But he insists that the experience taught him valuable lessons about endurance, preparation, and mental focus. "I took 2 days off and then went straight back to training," he explained. "I feel good again, both physically and mentally. The conditions that week were very demanding, but now everything is back to normal. I've talked a lot with my team about what happened. From a mental standpoint, it wasn't perfect, but I've processed it, and I'm ready to move forward." The San Candido native seems determined to finish the season strong, even if the number 1 ranking is slipping away. His roadmap is clear: the Vienna Open, the Paris Masters 1000, the ADP Finals in Turin, and finally the Davis Cup. These are the battlegrounds where he hopes to restore the momentum that carried him through the first half of the year. "We're ready for what's coming," he declared confidently before the start of his title defense in Riyadh. "My objective is to finish 2025 in the best possible way. Vienna, Paris, Turin, and then the Davis Cup. Those are my goals." Even though the end of the season is drawing near, Sinner's determination remains undimmed. His focus has shifted from chasing Alcaraz in the rankings to reinforcing his own legacy, a year that has combined triumph and turbulence, glory and pain. The mark of a champion who is learning not just how to win, but how to endure.